Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Ray the Flying Squirrel here, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as you probably expect at this point in time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars for the Super Nintendo / Super Famicom version, as the version we are still playing through right now. Well, because of the forms of the Nintendo Switch remake, it will be on its way. So, last time, we've essentially manage to explore the factory gate and battle some more enemies, including certain bosses every once in a while, especially noticeable that we actually stumbled across into ourselves machine-made counterparts of the already existed boss fights in the past few areas. So, even though, because relatively speaking though, since then we've become much more stronger, so as a result we kick their butts no problem. So, even though, that's saying something. So, anywho, today for this video is about the fact that we're about to be able to continue experiencing buddy forms of Gate Factory, and because of that we're about to deal with even more enemy encounters, and exponentially speaking though, we might able to actually come towards the end of the forms of the factory itself. So even though, wow, that enemy just committed suicide right there. So yeah, that enemy right there was actually known as the Ninja. And as far as I'm aware, the Ninja does have 235 HP, and it does give you 6 coins, and it does give you 32 experience points. So, and something tells me about the fact that we need to able to deal with that particular another machine-made thingy right there in the center. But before I get into more details about that particular topic for this matter though, is about the fact that obviously today's date, of course, is the 7th of September today, in some cases in 2023 today. Naturally speaking though, is about the fact that we've almost nearly at the end of that particular mini heat wave for that particular week as far as this is concerned. Although, relatively speaking though, is about the fact that one thing it does manage to call me off guard, and that's what appears to be about the fact that apparently though, both Mighty, the Armadillo, including buddy forms of Shadow, they did somehow manage to able to buy something since enduring forms of this entire mini heat wave that we're about to be going through right now. As it turns out, we actually got ourselves a nice cozy spa, so as a result, that's actually super cool and everything, especially noticeable to me. It does come in very handy though, especially noticeable once we stumble across into a heat wave again, at some point possibly during the forms of it next year in 2024. So even though I can seriously able to actually dive into the actual mini pool and able to actually enjoy this fresh water and stuff like that. And maybe every once in a while though, that I'm also able to occasionally try to use it for the sake of the forms of when the temperature gets a bit chilly and cold, that I can able to warm up the entire mini spa. So even though, that's actually pretty awesome to me though. And what's even cooler is that according to what Mighty did tell me, that basically he managed able to buy that thing for a cheaper price. So yeah, that's actually a pretty good deal, especially it was originally going to be 600 quid, but as it turns out that it does manage to give us a massive offer. So yeah, I very appreciate about that. So anyways, here we go with the forms of another machine-made boss, and this time what appears to be buddy forms of Yaredovich right here. I believe he does have about 800 HP, and it does give you 50 coins if you finish him off, and I believe it gives you 180 experience points. But regardless of such though, luckily, unlike the original counterparts of him, he's actually thankfully a lot easier to deal with, especially noticeable because again, we are super strong, and relatively speaking though, that actually gives us a bit of progression. So even then though, although before we get onto that, I need to go ahead and try to able to actually go into another room for a moment, just because I do need to able to actually refresh our not only HP but also our flower points as well, just in case about the fact that we can able to tackle through the next boss battle. So even then though, and relatively speaking though, is about the fact that we're pretty much almost done in terms of the forms of pretty much everything, as far as I mentioned about this before already. So I think for the boss battle we're about to deal with, I think I'm also able to go ahead and switch characters for a bit. So for instance, I switch over to Mellow to Princess Toadstool, just in case for healing situations, especially noticeable because again, that when it comes to forms of Lazy Shell has already been equipped for Princess Toadstool. So even then though, Also, is it just me, but I'm pretty sure about the fact that Princess Toadstool, she's the only one she managed able to make her way to the forms of 200 plus HP, specifically 204 HP. So, because relatively speaking, though, is about the fact that I would say between both Princess Toadstool, including Mellow, they are both characters are considerably likely for mage kind of characters. And as far as I'm aware, when it comes to the forms of Mario and Geno, they are basically like a standard all-around characters as far as I can remember. And on top of that, Bowser was actually Brule's full strength. So even then, though, that's as far as saying goes. So yeah, let's bow down to the hall, and presumably speaking, we can able to stumble across into ourselves not only one boss battle, but two bosses in one particular area, just like the forms of how it does it in your new forms of in Booster Tower, except now we're about to face off against with not only from the likes of the forms of, well, as soon as we're able to actually get the battle started, but of course, first off, they try to ambush us with the attack first, so even then we'll have to wait until when that attack ends, so there we go. So basically, we actually stumbled across into two bosses, as you can see. One of them is actually known as the forms of Cloaker, and the other one is Domino. And relatively speaking, though, is that Cloaker does have 1,200 HP, but it does not give you any coins, but it does give you 60 experience points. Now, as far as Domino, on the other hand, that it does have 900 HP, so it's like a little bit lesser than the forms of how it does it for Cloaker, but it also does not give you any coins, and it also gives you the forms of 60 experience points. Now, what I'm gonna do here for this entire battle is that I'm actually gonna be taking down the forms of Cloaker right here, because relatively speaking, I was about the fact that if you try to able to finish him off, that means you have to deal with the forms of Domino, because as far as I'm aware, Domino is basically a lot of emphasis on magic attacks. Now on top of that, with the forms of Cloaker, as far as I'm concerned, that he's basically attack based. So even then though, and straight to the point about the fact that depending on what bosses you defeated, sometimes you're able to actually stumble across into a different enemy to encounter, or specifically certain boss units or something like that. But for the most part though, I'm actually going to go into the easier path by able to actually take down Cloaker right here, because again, he's more likely attack based, as opposed to the forms of Domino that he's obviously magical stuff. So even then though, I guess that makes it pretty obvious because of all that. Well, you know what I'm saying. So since we've done the first phase, and now we move on to the second phase, and since we already taken down Cloaker, obviously Domino does manage to get another tricks up on her sleeves. So as a result, that she actually summons the forms of this very weird snake head of any sort, which ultimately speaking though, it does have its name by the way, and as a result that I believe this particular thing itself was named is Mad Adder. So as a result, I believe Mad Adder does have 1,500 HP, but it does drop about no coins, but it does give you 200 experience points if you do manage to finish that particular thing off. So I think that's what it says anyway. But if you do manage to take down Domino and then try to take on the forms of Cloaker, you're instead able to actually get yourselves able to stumble across into yourself Earth Link. Now I believe for Earth Link, it does have 2,500 HP, but it also gives you 200 experience points if you do somehow manage to finish them off. So I suppose I should probably also want to mention about this as well, is that like I mentioned this before, unfortunately though, there was that one particular enemy that I sort of forgot to able to encounter with. That's what it appears to be, of course. His name was King Bomb. And as far as I'm aware, when it comes to the forms of King Bomb himself, that I can assure you it was located during the forms of in Bowser's Keep second visit. Now as far as I'm aware, King Bomb does have only 500 HP, and it does not give you any experience points or coins at all. So even then no, just want to classify that, especially mainly because about the fact that it's been about quite a few hours ago since I actually managed to able to research on something. So even then no, that's saying something I suppose. So even then no, yeah, let's talk about the forms of certain news we'd like to point things out, and that's what it appears to be about the fact that recently, on my own time, I finally managed able to fully 100% everything in the entire Mario Plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope game, to be more specifically, the base game. So as a result, so far, I've managed able to fully 100% not only the main game, but also with the forms of the last Spark Hunter, and of course Rayman in the Phantom Show just recently. But there's only one game mode left when it comes to going for 100% completion. That's what appears to be the Tower of Doom. And let me tell you something, the Tower of Doom is by far the hardest mode out of the bunch, mainly because about the forms of certain level progression you have to go for this point. And on top of all that stuff, though, is about the fact that how ridiculous certain objectives can be. And on top of all that stuff, though, is about the fact that you never know about the fact that if you try to succeed or not. So even then, though, also I just want to mention about this as well, and that's what it appears to be about the fact that I think this is definitely the final time we're going to be hearing this boss battle theme, because as far as I'm aware, once we get to the later battles, specifically that we're now approaching onto the actual factory itself, obviously about the fact that we can able to actually just to go ahead and show off this little extra bit for this particular boss fight, as you can see right there, that because I was trying to able to defend myself sometimes, because obviously there's also technically yet another enemy that we might able to actually stumble across into ourselves, but of course about the fact that we have to wait until when he decides to able to do that specific technique. So because of that though, and as a result, we actually stumbled across into ourselves the machine-made drill bit. Machine-made drill bit only has like 180 HP, but however though, it does not give you any experience points or coins. So yeah, that's something worth classifying for noticing that for that particular secret in mind. So again, I apologize for my commentary because it's a little bit slightly awkward at this point, mainly because about the fact that I was a little bit thirsty, especially noticeable because, well, relatively speaking though, the temperature is still very hot at this point, but hopefully once I finish this particular recording session, not only I can go back into the cool cold water spa, but also about the fact that I can open my window for a bit just in case I need to let the fresh air in. So yeah, that's what I can really think about it. So even then though, oh yeah, I should also mention about this as well, is about the fact that we actually got ourselves a brand new teaser trailer for the likes of Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget, and let me tell you, I'm still very excited about that particular film once it comes out on Netflix, and I think it's probably best if we let Sonic be able to mention more details about the forms of that particular teaser trailer for the likes of Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget, because let me tell you something, it is super duper cool, especially noticeable because obviously about the fact that we were able to actually see Ginger, Rocky, alongside with the forms of Mac, and Babs, and especially noticeable with any other familiar characters here and there as well, like Nick and Fetcher. So even then though, I'm still very excited to see how that particular film actually turns out to be, and during specifically in new forms of December 15th. Now, yeah, that's what I can really say about that for right now, because as you can see, we're now entering in the actual factory itself. So even then though, I'm super pumped for this, especially noticeable because not only we have to do a serious amount of enemy encounters, as you can see, but also about the fact that we've only got about the last few enemy encounters that we can able to deal with at this point. So even then though, so yeah, let's take on the forms of the next selections of enemies, as far as you can definitely see on screen. And these hammer guys are known as Mad Mallets. Mad Mallets only has like 200 HP, so obviously they don't stand a chance because after all, we are incredibly strong at this rate. And on top of that, they give us about 1 coin, apparently. And on top of that, it gives us 20 experience points. So yeah, I guess that's about it for that particular moment's notice. And every once in a while that we might able to come across into the forms of certain enemies, like for instance about the fact that we somehow still need to try to deal with the forms of Mad Mallets, but also in addition to that, we actually got ourselves the forms of Clark. Clark does have 500 HP, and on top of that, it gives us 20 coins if you finish him off, and on top of that, it gives you 50 experience points. So, now I'm pretty sure we're getting very close to level 25, presumably for Mario. And I think this also applies for Mello as well, but I'm sure enough that was about the fact that that could be a 100% guarantee when it comes to both characters. I'm not exactly sure if it's possible for not only for Princess Toadstool, but also for Bowser and Geno, but we shall see what happens in due time. So, anyways though, there's another explanation I should probably explain about this as well, and that's what appears to be about the fact that there's a show called the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. Well, for those of you who want to know what that cartoon is, it's basically based off on the Super Mario gaming series. Now, as far as I'm aware, that particular show itself has officially became 34 years old since in 1989. So, yeah, I can't believe time flies, you know? Although, while looking back on it though, it seems all over the place when it comes to that particular, the show itself. Mainly because of this bizarre worlds they go into, and on top of all that stuff though, with this very, obscure jokes, and on top of that, there are some segments that not only taking place in during forms of in live action, that usually takes place in during forms of Brooklyn, and on top of that, there are a lot of, like, animated segments from here and there for certain episodes, all things considered. So, and relatively speaking though, and also they sometimes manage to bring in a lot of celebrities from time to time, but even then though, that show at the end of the day just seems weird. Especially noticeable because, well, relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that I've never actually watched all of the episodes for that matter, but that's just because about the fact that during the course of the UK country, as far as I'm concerned, well, suffice to say, is about the fact that what Sonic did actually told me this, and that's what appears to be about the fact that he did remember watching some episodes in particular that features Bodo, and especially noticeable that takes place in the Arabian Nights kind of vibe, and especially noticeable something almost very similar to the forms of, you know what I mean, with the forms of King Arthur, the Knights of the Round Table kind of syndrome, and on top of that with the forms of somewhat takes place in Greek mythology, and on top of that with the forms of the Wild Western environment, even though it too. But as far as I'm aware, it's about the fact that much like the forms of how it does it on My Little Pony Friendship is Magic for the DVD compilation, as far as I'm concerned, for the UK version anyway, is that one of the episodes in particular has been gone missing for the sake of the forms of one of those. I would say it was on the second volume, as far as I'm concerned with this particular matter though. Well, mind you about the fact that it's been donkey's years since we've last watched the forms of the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, and then obviously about the fact that, yeah, as I said before, that show is just weird. So, anyway though, so as you can see, we actually stumbled across into ourselves this very random toad that actually gives you the option to able to actually buy something in the item shop. Just in case about the fact that you do need to buy items before you take on the final parts of the game, which is understandable, because obviously for that particular point, that it looks like we've almost nearly at the end, as I said before, then presumably speaking is about the fact that we've almost at the actual save point. So, either way though, that's all I can really think about it. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day. What was your thoughts about the forms of the Super Mario Bros. Super Show? While looking back on it though, ever since in 34 years ago, I personally still find it a bit of a weird show. So, but either way though, that's just for my honest opinion, especially concerning of how weird certain concepts are. So, even then though, that's saying something I suppose. So, anyway, so I believe something tells me about the fact that we might come across into yet another enemies, in addition with the forms of the next member, for the sake of the forms of a somewhat of a similar enemy type as far as this is concerned, but I suppose we're most able to try to take him on right now, after the events of that particular dialogue in-game text boxes here and there. But either way though, we somehow made our way to the actual battle itself. So here we have ourselves the next hammer-based enemies, and this time what appears to be by the forms of Pounders. Pounders does have 180 HP, and on top of that it gives us 2 coins this time, and it does give us 24 experience points. So, yeah, at this point in time is that the later hammer enemies seem to get a little bit weaker. Now, as far as I'm aware, the main threat we're going to be dealing with, as you can see, which appears to be body forms of Manager. Manager does have 800 HP, and it does give us 40 coins if you finish him off, and on top of that, it gives us 60 experience points. So that should able to give us some potentials that we can able to actually level up, not only for Mario, but also for Mello as well. So even then though, yeah, that's what I can really think about it when it comes to those guys in particular. So, oh yeah, there's also another thing I should want to classify something about this as well, and that's what appears to be about the fact that, well, generally speaking though, and that's what appears to be about the fact that there are some sad news we'd like to point things out, is that there was this guy called Steve Harwell, that he's one of those I would say a composers, or to be more specifically, he's one of the creator from the likes of the forms of the Smash Mouth, for the sake of the forms of one of those bands or something like that. He unfortunately passed away, that you know about the fact that with the forms of that particular, he was actually best known for the sake of the forms of one of those songs in particular, which is All Star from the likes of Shrek 1 and stuff like that. I mean, relatively speaking, though, that might be saying something as far as this is concerned, so... Anywho though, oh yeah, there's also another thing I should probably explain about this as well, is that there's a game called Another Crusade. That game, I don't know about you, that game does remind me of a similar kind of gameplay style as the forms of how it does it on Super Mario RPG. Well, the only difference is about the fact that it's been made by a different developer and even a publisher, so even then. And as you probably expected at this point, I was literally so close to able to get a level up for not only for Mario, but also for Mello as well. Oh jeez, I spoke too soon when it comes to likely a huge guarantee that we might able to actually get a level up for them both. But as a result, we are definitely so close. So, and also, once again, I apologize for my commentary is a little bit awkward at this point, mainly because I'm still, you know, practically thirsty and stuff like that, so... Oh, and speaking of the forms of Another Crusader, or specifically, yeah, just Another Crusade, I believe that particular game is about to be out until next week, so if I'm assuming so anyway, so but even then, that might be saying something, so... Anyways, here we have ourselves the yet another enemy encounter, in addition to the forms of, presumably, the third and the final member when it comes to those weird knight-looking enemies as far as I'm concerned. And as a result, about the fact no matter what though, these guys are named was, well, in terms of the hammers anyway, these are Poundette. Poundette does have 150 HP, and they give you 3 coins, and finally they give you 28 experience points, so... And that's basically all there is to it when it comes to these guys. So, and lastly, in terms of the forms of this particular main thread of this particular battle called the Director does have 1000 HP, and on top of that, it gives us 70 experience points, and in addition to that, it also gives us 80 coins. So, and as a result, that's all there is to really think about it. And I'm pretty sure this is also going to be the final time we're going to be able to actually hear in this particular, you know, enemy battle theme as far as this is concerned. Mainly because about the fact, as I mentioned this before, that we're almost nearly at the end of the game, so everything else will become to expect at that point. So, either way though, yeah, that's what I can really say about for this particular today's discussion, I'm afraid, guys. Although, I would have liked able to explain something more related to the forms of Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget, but then again though, I think it's probably best if we let Sonic be able to actually mention more about it at some point when he goes back onto the forms of Sonic Frontiers, presumably speaking, so... Anyway, so now let's go ahead and finish up with the forms of the rest of those Poundettes, and, oh, looks like we got ourselves once again. So yeah, that's actually super awesome and everything. So, but even then though, hopefully we're able to, oh wow, we're getting very lucky at this point today. Especially concerning about that particular point, since that we've now finally finished off with the rest of the forms of those regular enemies, and we finally reached level 25 for Mario. And not just Mario, but also same applies with Mello as well. So even then though, yeah, we're getting a lot of progression in here, especially in terms of the forms of the level up system, all things considered. So even then though, yeah, I'm quite proud for myself, you know. So anyway though, so I believe that pretty much takes care of for this particular point right there. And I believe coming up is about the fact that we might able to stumble across into ourselves the final safe block in the entire game. And because of that though, is about the fact that I think, straight to the point, about the fact that we might able to actually come across into the last regular boss before the true final boss in the game. So, and I think what I'm gonna do is that when it comes to the forms of the next battle anyway, I feel like about the fact that, well, first of all, let me go ahead and save my game. So as you can see, we now reached to level 25. So yeah, that's actually super awesome and everything. And when it comes to like for the party members and stuff like that, I'll decide able to bring in Mello this time, so just in case we can able to do one of those, or presumably speaking for the weakness, I suppose. So, but either way though, I suppose we're able to actually just to like explain more details about that. So first of all, let's save my game again for some reason. But either way, let's go ahead and continue things on here, and it seems about the fact that we come to a halt thanks to the forms of that particular guy right here, in addition to the forms of that particular contraption. So even then though, I suppose there's only one thing for it, and that's of course trying to deal with yet another boss battle. So even then though, and presumably speaking, once we're done with that, it'll pretty much lead us to the final showdown. So but either way though, let's go ahead and get this battle started. So anyways though, so here's the forms of not only one boss fight, but two bosses, as you can tell. So basically we do have, well, assuming of course if the task has already been finished up to this point. So but either way though, one of them is actually named Factory Chief, which Factory Chief does have 1000 HP, and it obviously gives you 90 coins, and on top of that it gives us 80 experience points. In addition to that, there's also this contraption called Gun Yoke. Gun Yoke does have 1500 HP, and it does give you 100 experience points, but it does not give you any coins. And presumably speaking, this is actually the final boss battle able to feature experience points. At assuming of course about the fact that if you accidentally ignored the secret the secret boss that usually contains Kulex in Monster Town. But relatively speaking though, about the fact that when it comes to this particular playthrough itself, this will be the final time we're going to be able to grinding some of these experience points, because you know, we're nearly at the end folks, we are nearly there. So but either way though, yeah, that's what I can really think about it. So even then though, I should also mention about this as well, is about the fact that, well, relatively speaking though, is about the fact that I still managed able to win back onto Mario Kart Tour again. Now, relatively speaking though, I've already managed able to complete all of the cups on that particular tour so far. And relatively speaking though, is about the fact that I'm doing decently well, but it's just about the fact I'm still usually complaining about the bad controls and stuff like that. But regardless of such though, it's about the fact I'm still practically waiting for the 6th and final wave up to this point. So relatively speaking though, hopefully we'll find out some more details about the forms of the 6th and final wave for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC department for the Booster Course Pass. So hopefully we're able to actually find out some more details about that during that time. So anywho though, so there's also another explanation. I should probably address something in this as well. And that's what appears to be about the fact that I think, relatively speaking though, is about the fact that, well, I suppose, when it comes to everything else I could possibly explain about this, is that there was actually that moment where basically it's about the fact that there was this little conversation for the sake of the forms of one of those things, as far as you might as well know. And that's what appears to be about the fact that apparently though, that when it comes to the forms of other series is about to be coming up, I do know for certain for one thing is about the fact that Loki Season 2 is still about to be releasing at some point on the 6th of October, so that's presumably on Friday. And on top of that, they also confirmed certain release dates for other series of stuff, specifically the new MCU Disney Plus series, as far as I'm concerned. Like for instance, there was What If Series 2, or specifically Season 2, I think it's about to due out at some point in this year's Christmas. And on top of that, there's also Echo is going to be releasing on January 2024, and also X-Men 97, which is going to be releasing during early 2024, and also with the forms of Agathria, was about to be releasing at some point in late next year. So even then though, but everything else though, like Ironheart, Wonder Man, and Daredevil Born Again, unfortunately though, those series have been delayed due to the forms of, what else? The writer's strike. So nothing special when it comes to the forms of this particular delayed information as far as I'm concerned. But either way though, that takes care of the forms of not only Factory Chief, but also with Gun Yoke as well. And as I said before, this is a true definition of not only the final time we did somehow get some experience points, but also hearing that particular boss battle theme here and there as well. So either way though, and for that particular switch, as you saw for about a few moments notice, once you activate that particular switch, there's no turning back. So I believe that pretty much leads us to the final boss in the game. So but either way though, that must have been said something, especially concerning about the fact that, like I said before, there's no turning back if you dare manage to activate that particular button switch. So, and even then though, that might be expected for something. So, but either way though, yeah, it looks like about the fact that we've now made our way to the final point of the game. So, yeah, it feels like it's going to be pretty exciting when it comes to able to not only beating the main entire story for the likes of Super Mario RPG, but also with the entire Let's Play of the entire game as well. Although, I would have liked able to show any other extras, but honestly guys, I just wanted able to actually get this game finished before we continue resuming uploading schedules on not only Sonic Frontiers, but eventually Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania as well. So, but either way though, I think, presumably speaking, is that during at some point that, although after we did somehow manage to come back for our mini holiday break, I believe that Sonic is going to be most likely going to be taking over for the majority of any other uploading schedules for, presumably the next couple of days for Sonic Frontiers, because he really wants to get the game moving along, just in case before the third and final free DLC update is going to be releasing. So I guess it's understandable, because obviously about that specific long breaks every once in a while for Sonic Frontiers, but either way though, that's saying something I guess. So with that being said, I think we should probably be ending off this point right here, so join me next time for more of Let's Play of Super Mario RPG, The Legend of the Seven Stars. And guess what folks, we're about to be going into the finale portion in the entire game by taking on the final boss of the game. So I'm pretty pumped for it, and I'll see you guys until tomorrow. Later fellas.